I returned to the mansion the night I knew my life could break. How could she betray me when I came back? I had been gone for 2 years. They said I was a failed man. My plane did not land on time, but my private jet came at midnight. I watched the garden from the gate. I saw her in the open window. She was kissing a man who was not me. She still thought I was poor. She did not know I had a fortune and a hidden estate. I felt my heart break and my head fill with a plan. I wanted to show her the truth, but I also wanted revenge. The butler closed the main gate. My foot on the gravel made a soft sound. I opened the gate slowly. Who is that man in my house? I walked up the long drive. The chandelier in the hall threw a cold light. I saw the portrait of my wife and me when we were poor. I touched the frame. My memory went back to the small apartment. I remember the night I left. I remember the 2 years of hard work. I remember the promise I made to myself. I would return one day. I would not beg. I would not plead. I would come with truth and power. I rang the bell. The butler opened the door. He bowed and said, "Welcome back, sir." He did not know me at first. He knew my face from old pictures. The mansion has a long library and a hidden wing. The butler walked me through the corridor. I saw the ballroom empty now. My wife, Laura, stood near the window. She wore a red dress. Her hair fell like a silk curtain. Her back was to me. She smiled as the man touched her shoulder. I felt the world tilt. I asked the butler in a low voice, "Who is he?" The butler froze. He said, "Mr. Adam, he is Mr. Mark. He is a friend." I did not move. My hands did not shake. I felt cold inside. My mouth wanted her name. I said nothing. I remembered the first time she told me she loved me. She kissed me then because I had 1 rupee left. She promised to stay. She promised she would not leave. I had proof of my new life in my briefcase. I had contracts, bank papers, and a photograph of the new estate. I kept them hidden. I would use them later. For now I walked into the room and smiled. Laura turned and the room stopped. She saw me and did not change her face. Her eyes showed shock. Mark stepped back. He looked small in my mansion. My mind went quiet. I spoke slowly. "Did you expect me to be a poor man forever?" She looked like a woman who had been caught in a lie. Her face went white. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. Mark reached for her hand. I asked, "Who are you to my wife?" She looked at me and whispered, "You are back?" I said, "Yes. I came back rich. But first, tell me the truth. The music in the ballroom stopped. A clock ticked loud. Her secret hung in the air. Then she said a name that made my blood run cold. What other secret could be worse than this name? I gave a smile and a small plan. I wanted to test them. I wanted to expose the truth in a public way. I told the butler to announce a celebration in the garden. I asked him to call the guests from old circles and a few new faces. I knew how proud Laura was of her social life. She loved the portrait in the library that said we were a perfect couple. Now I would break that idea. I sent a private message to Mark. It said, "Join us at 8. Wear your best suit." He did not know the message was from me. He came with a confident face. The garden filled with lights and music. Guests walked past the fountain and the estate roses. The chandelier at the outdoor stage shone. I stood near the library door. I watched my wife laugh with Mark in public. She touched his arm like a secret. I felt anger grow like a cold fire. I walked to the small stage. The guests all turned to me. I said, "Good evening. We celebrate a return." They clapped but looked confused. I pulled out a small photo from my pocket. It was a photo of the night in our bedroom when Laura kissed Mark. I showed it to the crowd. The music stopped. I said, "This man was my friend, he betrayed me. My wife betrayed me also." A hush fell. People whispered. I told the butler to play the video that I had from 2 years ago. The screen showed my wife with Mark. They looked happy and free. Someone gasped. Laura tried to pull the screen down. I said, "No. Let everyone see." She covered her face. She cried and said, "Daniel, please." But she also said words that hurt. She said, "You left me when you had nothing." I smiled slowly and said, "You left me for comfort." The crowd turned against her. My neighbor called her a liar. A young woman asked, "How could you kiss another man in your own home?" Laura stood small. Mark stepped forward and lied to them. He said, "I never meant harm." "Daniel, you changed so much. This is not right." The butler whispered, "Sir, the press is here." Someone took a photo. The guests moved like a storm. My plan worked, but my heart felt heavy. Do I want her pain? Do I want to destroy the life we built together? A soft footstep came from the library. I heard my name called in a voice I did not expect. The voice in the library was soft. It was my mother. She walked with her cane and her old shawl. She looked at Laura and then at me. "Daniel," she said, "there is something I must tell you." My heart beat fast. I remembered a small box my mother once gave me. I opened it years ago and found a letter. The letter had words I could not read then. Now I could. My mother sat and told a long truth. She said, "When you left, I found a ledger. It showed hidden funds from your father's company. I kept quiet because I thought you would return. I signed papers in your name to save us. I lied to protect the family." I felt cold and warm at the same time. This was a truth I never knew. She said, "You were never a poor man in the eyes of the law. But you were told to leave so a plan could work." I felt my whole life change. Then my mind went strange. I saw a flashback like a loop. I saw myself 2 years ago sitting in a small room with a pen. I saw a stranger tell me to leave. I saw my wife saying, "If you go, I will wait." But she did not wait. The loop showed me a letter I had written and burned. I saw my future self coming back rich and planning revenge. The loop was a strange gift. It gave me time to see all lies and small truths. I used the loop to plan the final move. I told my guests, "I will speak once more, then I will show the last paper." I opened the briefcase and held up the ledger and the signed papers. They had my name and my father's seal. I said, "This shows I trusted the wrong people. I trusted those who told me to leave." But I also found out a larger lie. Laura knew about the ledger long ago. She met with a lawyer the month after I left. She gasped and tried to explain. Mark stood close and whispered, "We wanted the estate to be ours." The crowd turned to them. I felt a dark joy. I had proof, but I also had pain. A man in the crowd shouted, "How can you live with this?" My mother looked at me with pity. I saw the butler in the doorway, his face pale. He moved his hand to a drawer and pulled out an envelope. I knew the envelope could change everything. What was inside that envelope? I opened the envelope. Inside was a note in my wife's handwriting and a key. The note read, "I am sorry." I signed because I was afraid. I did not know the cost. My hands shook. The key opened a small safe in the library. Inside was an old ring and a letter from my father. The letter said, "I knew they would test you. Wealth is not only money. Wealth is truth." The final truth hit me. Laura had known some of the secret, but she had also been trapped by the men who wanted the estate. Mark had used her fear. She had lied once, then lied again to cover the first lie. I felt both anger and pity. I walked to Laura and took her hand. I said, "You hurt me deeply, but I will not break you like they broke me." She wept and said, "I am sorry. I love you, Daniel." I looked at her and the guests and then at the portrait in the library. I learned that revenge can be cold and empty. I learned that truth frees you more than punishment. I chose a path that shocked everyone. I forgave Laura in front of the crowd, but I asked her to leave the mansion for a time. She needed to learn and to be honest. I kept the estate, but I changed who would run it. I hired honest people, and I gave a part of the fortune to staff and neighbors who had helped me. My mother smiled with tears. The butler bowed and said, "Sir, you have saved the house and given people hope." The lesson is clear. Power without truth kills love, but truth and mercy can heal a broken heart. I closed the curtain and walked out into the garden night. Who will knock on my gate next?